Alright, let's dive into something that's been blowing my mind lately: Anthropic's Project Panama. If you haven't heard about this, buckle up, because it's a wild ride. So, here's the deal: Anthropic, the AI company behind the language model Claude, had this idea to scan all the books in the world, but with a twist. They called it destructive scanning, which basically means they'd scan the books and then destroy the physical copies. Yeah, you heard that right. Destroy all the books. What makes this really interesting is the why behind it. Anthropic needed high-quality, pre-2022 text to train Claude, and books were their golden ticket. But instead of going through the legal hassle of getting copyright permissions, they opted for this, let's call it controversial approach. Personally, I think this raises a deeper question: what does it say about our priorities when destroying cultural artifacts seems easier than respecting intellectual property? Now, let's unpack this. First off, the court documents from Bartz vs. Anthropic PBC reveal that Anthropic was fully aware of the ethical and legal gray areas here. They even used a codename for the project, Project Panama, because they didn't want people to know what they were up to. One thing that immediately stands out is the sheer scale of this operation. We're talking warehouses filled with books, staff slicing spines, and digitization vendors turning these texts into data. What many people don't realize is that this isn't just about training an AI, it's about stripping books of their physicality and authorial context. In my opinion, this feels like a metaphor for how we're treating knowledge in the digital age, reducing it to data points, devoid of its cultural and historical weight. Here's where it gets even more fascinating: the court ruled that using copyrighted material to train an AI doesn't necessarily violate copyright law. The logic? Training an AI is like teaching a human to read and write. If you take a step back and think about it, this sets a pretty dangerous precedent. Are we really equating the creation of AI with human education? What this really suggests is that we're still grappling with how to regulate AI in a way that respects both innovation and cultural preservation. From my perspective, this case highlights a massive gap in how we value books, not just as sources of data, but as cultural artifacts that carry the voices of their creators. Now, let's talk about the broader implications. If Anthropic's approach becomes the norm, what happens to rare or unique books? There's no endangered list for printed works, and little regulation to protect them. This raises a deeper question: should we start treating human-authored texts as a category of cultural heritage that deserves protection? Personally, I think we're at a crossroads. If we don't start valuing the wholly human author as something worth preserving, we risk losing something irreplaceable. What's also striking is Anthropic's stated goal of creating a forever research library. On the surface, it sounds noble, preserving knowledge for future generations. But if you dig deeper, it feels like a band-aid solution. A detail I find fascinating is that they're essentially replacing physical books with digital copies, which, in their view, justifies destroying the originals. But here's the thing: a digital copy isn't the same as a physical book. It doesn't carry the same weight, the same history, the same connection to its creator. So, where does this leave us? In my opinion, this case is a wake-up call. It's not just about Anthropic or AI, it's about how we value knowledge, creativity, and culture in an increasingly digital world. We need to ask ourselves: are we willing to trade the richness of human-authored works for the efficiency of AI? Or can we find a way to balance innovation with preservation? Personally, I think the answer lies in reclaiming our role as creators and stewards of culture, not just consumers of data. What do you think? Is destructive scanning a necessary evil for AI advancement, or are we crossing a line we can't come back from? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found this as thought-provoking as I did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the intersection of tech, culture, and ethics. Thanks for watching.